All right, let's go ahead and look at the second problem. Second problem asks, a typical building in New York City measures 1,550 feet. What is this height in meters? So if we take the same approach as the previous problem, the definitive quantity that we are starting out with is the 1,550 feet. The question is asking us to convert that length or that height into meters. And so if I go ahead, I'm going to actually do it right here. And first of all, I'm going to start out by writing out what the problem gives me. So it's the 1,550 feet. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to develop my roadmap. So I'm going to do it kind of right above here. So feet is the current unit that I'm in, and I want to convert to the unit of meters. So I ask myself, is there a direct conversion from feet to meters? And you may know one. Remember, you don't have Google at your disposal on an exam, so we kind of have to think through this one a little bit. So there isn't a conversion that goes directly from feet to meters. However, we can start to piece some things together. What do we know about feet and meters? And one thing I want to point out is notice that feet is an imperial, or kind of a common unit that we use in America, so it's the imperial system, but feet, inches, all of that, that's what we use in the United States, versus meters is metric. So the first thing I notice is that we're going from one system to another. And so if you remember from the notes, the way we get from the imperial system to the metric system is by going through inches to centimeters. And you may recall what that conversion is, how many centimeters are in 1 inch. But the key thing there is if we're in inches, we can get into centimeters. And here's the nice thing. If you're in centimeters, you can get to meters, because that's a metric conversion. And hopefully everyone knows how feet and inches are related to each other. So if we take a look at the roadmap for this problem, it can be solved in 3 conversion factors. Every arrow that we draw stands for a conversion factor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here and I'm going to set that up. So here's my first conversion factor. Here's my second conversion factor. And then here's my third conversion factor. And you can see how you can set this up without having to put any numbers in. You can kind of just set it all up, and we'll do the numbers at the very end. So the very first conversion is we're going to have to go from feet to inches. So I'm going to go ahead and put feet on the bottom here and inches on top. And that way, you'll see that the feet will cancel out once we do that. Next, I want to go from inches to centimeters. So inches will go on the bottom here, and centimeters will go on top. And once that conversion factor is put in, you can see how the inches will cancel out. And then the last step is we want to go from centimeters to meters. And that last conversion factor is going to make the centimeters cancel. And that'll give us our final answer, which is what we want in meters. So now what I have to do is I'm just going to go back and I'm going to fill in all these conversion factors with the appropriate numbers. So there are 12 inches in 1 foot. There are 2.54 centimeters in 1 inch. And then for every 1 meter, there are 100 centimeters. Because remember, centimeter is a smaller unit than a meter. So for every 1 meter, there's 100 centimeters. So now we just go ahead and calculate through. So I'm going to do 1,550 times 12 times 2.54. And then I'm going to divide that by 100. And the answer that I get, without rounding for significant figures, is 472.44 meters. But like I said, we need to account for significant figures. If you'll notice, all 3 of these conversion factors are exact numbers. So there's exactly 12 inches in 1 foot, there's exactly 2.54 centimeters in 1 inch, and there's exactly 100 centimeters in a meter. So we're not going to base sig figs off of these numbers. The only number that we're going to base sig figs off of is the number that was given to us, which is the 1,550 feet. And that has 3 sig figs. This 0 does not count at the end because there's not a decimal. So there's 3 sig figs, so I need to round my final answer to be 3 sig figs. So that's going to be 472 meters.